Alright, so we're looking at the Brainwaves Advanced mode. If you go to the settings, right here, wave mode is 3. After you set the scale to logarithmic, this is what the brainwaves will look like. I went ahead and pre-placed vertical lines on the chart to kind of show you that you can use this on any time frame. We're going to move to the 1 hour. But as you can see that even though that we have sell signals and buy signals from this indicator, that it really doesn't, it's not useful for volume. So it's more of the rotation of the chart. So if the chart will become bearish, the rotation on this will become a red wave down. And what I mean by red wave down would be a good example right here in the chart. Okay, so here we have a green line down rather than a red wave. So this green wave comes down, and the market follows that trend all the way up until about here. And then we have a little bit of continuation, and then a sell-off, right? So right here we have a slight sell-off that came in, and it only caused a tiny bit of a red candle on one time frame, or one bar. So no, it's not really meant to use as volume. So it's more of just like what trend is moving in the market. Like currently right now, this would mean that this is slightly going to be extended. Let's make it bigger so we can see what I'm talking about. So here we have the red line and the two red lines. One of them's crossing down, so there's a little bit of temporary sell-off. But for now, this is actually looking like it wants to continue bullish rather than complete this bearish momentum right here. So what you'll notice with this indicator is that when my stylus, whenever these lines start to curve down as such, then that would be a shift in momentum. So like when this line was curving down and this line was curving up, that would have been a bullish crossover or a bearish crossover. Vice versa, when this line was being going pushed this way down, that would have been a bullish crossover. So right now we're looking at a possible bearish crossover temporarily on 1 hour. And that could go like that with the red line going down, and that would be the representation of a bearish momentum. Now, let's get back. Oh, I gotta get out of that. There you go. All right. So that is the idea of that. So let's move to the 1 hour. We're going to look at the lines before we erase them. Alright, so then when we get to the 1 hour, we can see the line graphs on the 1 hour a little bit more clearly. And kind of check out the trend lines as they went from the higher time frames. And the reason why I stick to the 1 hour is just we're breaking the chart down to a much smaller increment, and it's easier to read in the short term. So let's go ahead and remove all the drawings so you can see the picture. I'm going to take a quick break. Alright, so I think the last color I used was red. So I'm going to start with the bearish crossovers. And again, we're on the 1 hour. And you'll start to see that the smaller time frames become slightly more accurate because you're not measuring such a large movement. So on here, like let's go to the monthly, right? You can have a green line down and still have massive drawdown throughout a few months or a month, and that wave will still be valid, where you could see some momentum right here on the 2 weekly, like right here, and it would still look like it's being invalidated on the larger time frames because of the crossover. But if you go to even larger time frames, like the 3-month or whatever, you can see that the larger time frames are moving up. So if you go, so it's kind of like a multi-time frame scenario here. So if we're looking at like the 3-month wave and it's coming down, that means the waves below it are all going to be bullish. They're all going to play out bullish, even though that you have some bearish momentum on the weekly or whatnot, because on the 1 month right here, you see that the line came down, and that's when we started experiencing that bullish upcome, and then we have a slight drawdown. And that drawdown would be found on the, I believe, weekly charts. If we look for it, yeah, see, here's some of it, here's some of it, and yet the momentum is still playing out bullish. So it's important to use higher time frames when using this indicator, and slowly work your way down and see which wave you are in and what time frame you're in, because the smaller time frames will eventually wind either up or down depending on the large time frames. And if you don't pay attention to it, it's going to wreck you. You're going to be lost in the market. Or you could play it hourly by hourly and just go through it. I don't know why this is taking so long to load. So let's go ahead and mark the smaller time frames. Let's start with the bearish. So we have a bearish sell, bearish sell, sell off. I'm not going to do all of them. I'm just going to do a few of them through this movement right here, because we can start seeing as we get smaller and smaller, we can start breaking down much smaller moves. That one came, it's close enough. Came back the first one. Let's mark it about, I don't think we can. Yeah, slightly. Okay, and those are the bearish calls just within that time frame. And we can see that it did give a false positive right here. And we'll highlight that as well. So it's not like 1000% accurate, but it is extremely useful and extremely accurate. Let's do. I've never seen an indicator be able to map out something like this ever. I've studied a lot of indicators trying to figure out how they work. Again, I'm just looking right up here. And we got a really good call right here and a really good call right here. So as you can see, even on the buy signals, it does vary in size and the move really. So it's not really meant for volume, but if it's going to rotate bullish or bearish, right? Here we have a slight sell-off right here that was canceled and turned bullish. A little slight sell-off. Green line was down and had continuation. And that concludes this, and we'll be moving on to other demonstrations and examples and how to use.